Things I used to do at the start of my therapy career that I don't do anymore. Doing my notes every day, finishing them. I used to be really diligent about not leaving work until I had my work done. And now I have a different perspective about that. And I can see that there are sometimes benefits of waiting to finish documenting something. Like now I will make a choice to stop working and cook dinner instead of pushing through like I used to complete the work in that same day. Like it's always been a 48 hour, you have to get the notes in, so there's really no point in pushing to do it all that day after it's outside of my salaried hours. I used to be more punctual. I used to care more about starting on time and ending on time, and now I am much more flexible in that regard. I think just flexibility in general, I'm much more of a flexible clinician, and that's a skill that's like one of the hardest for me and one of the ones that I'm always working on because I'm kind of an inflexible person. But I am slowed down for much less time now than I used to be when things changed in my schedule, when I had to be flexible. I used to dream about clients more, and I don't dream about people the same way, which makes me think that it's kind of moved to a different part of my brain. And maybe part of that is going from working in a day program where you see the same people 5 days a week to seeing people on a weekly basis. Maybe that's part of it, but I don't dream as much about clients anymore. I think I've become more inclusive of what happens during a session. I've always been a flexible clinician, but even more so now, not going in with any preconceived order and allowing the session to be led off of that initial impression that you make with somebody. Because even if you try to, I think I used to care a lot more about intake sessions and first impressions. I used to feel a lot more nervous before doing them. And part of that was because I felt like people were going to notice my discomfort. Even if I wasn't uncomfortable, they would flag me as being uncomfortable with the work or not proficient enough to do it. And I don't really feel that way anymore. And because it just doesn't make sense to feel that way, frankly. I used to be much more routine as a person. I would stop and take lunch every day. I would go on a walk the same time every day. I would get up pretty much the same time every day. And now I let other people guide that more than I used to. That has helped me take less stress of the mental health care because there are so many elements of it that were entirely out of my control. So I thought by taking control of my routine and my schedule, that was helpful. And I think that it is more helpful to listen to your body day by day and react and respond in the moment instead of trying to plan ahead so much. I used to definitely be more responsive as a clinician too. I like to talk and I like to answer and I like to debate and I like to argue. I like to go back and forth. And that is something that in my work now, I do less than when I first started as a clinician. It's much more at this phase of my life and in relation to other people and maybe political climate or economic climate as well. So much of my direct client time is just listening to people talk. And that is the intervention, that is the help, that is the service, that's what builds the rapport and establishes the trust and sets you apart, especially in the caretaking field. You're really there for them because you're not pushy, you're not pressuring. I used to be more thorough, maybe, at assessment doing, as far as you learn how to make inferences the more that you do it and the more familiar that you become with an assessment. That's one of the most reassuring things about doing mental health care is becoming more established within the systems that you're working on. If you stay in the same state, you're going to be using the same type of assessments. Or if you are working with the same type of disorders, you're going to use similar types of scales to measure those symptoms or whatever. So just increasing your familiarity allows you to make connections without having to drag the client along to every single one of those pain points and go into detail the way that you have to when you're first starting out. I've always struggled with taking people at their word. I am somebody who, maybe I'm not, but in my head I think that I'm somebody who, when I say something, I will do it. And I don't really say things that I don't intend on doing, or I try not to. It's not part of how I use language. When I use language, it's declarative. It's because I'm planning or thinking or plotting to do something. And I've learned that communication just does not go that way for a lot of people, especially if you don't learn that. Just being able to understand that, I think I'm much more familiar with types of people now. if you're raised in a home with conflict, you are in fight mode most of the time, unless you go the opposite because you were a result of that fighting. And if you are in a conflict avoidant household, that carries into your adulthood. And so I run into people, somebody who's raised in a conflict heavy household, who have avoidant conflict family systems, and I need to park it and back up, because the way that I was taught, modeled how to resolve conflict is a completely different model than what this other person is seeing. And I'm much more able to recognize that earlier now, not only in client relationships, but in personal relationships as well. The sooner that you can understand that you just have yourself, and relationships are additive benefits and can provide dynamics that can create greater than one being, just like a boss relationship or a client relationship, a teacher relationship, or a sibling relationship, parent relationship, child relationship. Like, they can all create broader lessons than just what we learn within ourselves. And many of those relational dynamics are not compatible because of upbringing, because of triggers, because of experiences, because of preference. All those things are so valuable. And that applies in the therapy relationship as well. It goes with clients, it goes with finding therapists, it goes with doctors, it goes with anything. But being able to understand, and that's what they say, like, not being able to take things personally, right? That's not just about having somebody shit on you with their words. It's not just about having somebody, like, mock you about your insecurities to your face because you're their therapist. You know what I mean? It's more than that. It's about being able to recognize that people's behavior is a result of their triggers, experiences, and upbringing, and the way that it's combined with their life experience moving forward. It really has nothing to do with you. Whether somebody shows up or doesn't, what they do, what they don't do, it really has very little to do with the person. You can be a channel, a vessel, an environment, a place, a piece of consistency. So approach it as that. Find ways to establish your rock self, and don't allow the waves to dislodge you when you don't need to be floating downstream with them. What they need from you is to hold a steady place.